I'm very excited and thanks a lot for finding time. And it's my great honor to have you here with us today on our first ever live session.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Awesome.
And as I promised, we will cover some topics as local production, custom design, and even peculiarities about on sustainable startups during COVID-19 pandemic. And I guess without further ado, Zara, the floor is yours. So briefly introduce yourself, introduce Flair Copenhagen. Who are you? And take it over.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Zara. I am the founder of a brand called Flair Copenhagen. I'm from Bulgaria, and I'm actually currently in Bulgaria at the moment, in Sofia. However, I've been living around the world for quite some time. I've been living a lot in the US. I actually did my bachelor's there in communication, and then I moved to Denmark, where I did my master's degree in management. And I've been actually living in Denmark for the past 10 years and absorbing all of that nice energy, and especially because Denmark is one of the pioneers in renewable energy. As we all know, it's one of the biggest and the first industries and countries with wind power and turbines. So that was a small path of leading me towards this sustainable movement as well. And Denmark in general is a very cautious country within everything. If we talk about fashion, eating, lifestyle, anything like that. So I have been very, very excited about this movement, and that's where it all kind of started in a way. Flair Copenhagen, it's an interesting story. My background is in marketing and branding, and I have worked for large and small companies, startups, big corporations, and I've always wanted to have something of my own. I've always wanted to create something by myself, and having lived in so many countries and being from Bulgaria, I've always wanted to have that connection. So I started researching, and of course, I've also been interested in fashion. I've also worked for fashion, for Copenhagen Fashion Week many years, and so on. So from all that, I decided to try to start a sustainable brand, which was produced solely in Europe, which I was going to be very close with the seamstresses in the production, and which was going to be very, very, in a way, tight and compact and very direct. So I decided to start about 2 years ago, Flair Copenhagen. Why it's called Flair Copenhagen? Flair is a word that it's very light, it's very airy, it's very, you normally say somebody wears something with flair or with elegance. So of course that's part of the DNA of the brand. Copenhagen, because of all I explained before, Copenhagen is my motive, my huge motive throughout this journey. The minimalism, the style, the way of life. I found a small factory here in Bulgaria who was okay with producing very small quantities of silk items for me. Because number one problem in this industry is that normally factories, first of all, they want large amounts of units. We're talking 2 to 3 to 4,000 at least of a product, number one. So they would never work with you otherwise. Number two, nobody wants to work with silk, and especially mulberry silk, the silky smooth silk that my items are made from. Why is that? Because silk is it's a very slippery material to work with, and normally their machines are not adapted to that. And actually, it's mostly done by hand. So a lot of factories refuse to work with silk. However, I did find a very small, tiny factory here It's composed of about 10 people, 10 seamstresses who decided to do this project with me, which I'm very, very thankful. I'm very close with them by now. And, you know, we work shoulder to shoulder together. The great thing is that the whole process is very flexible. So we create small units, small amount of units, limited edition pieces, and our time frame for finishing the line is about 2 to 3 weeks, and that's all because it's located here in Europe, and you know we don't ship from anywhere in Asia. We don't have these lead times. We have direct communication, face to face. We decide on the designs directly, along with my my designer friend and partner, and everything is, you know, a small family almost business. And then the most important part of Flair and why it is sustainable is because we only use material from large productions, which are normally in Italy. We use silk from big high-end productions that is left over. Sometimes it's from 3 meters to 30 meters or something like that. But normally a whole roll of silk would be somewhere between 300 to 500 meters. So whatever is left from those 500 meters, we buy and we reuse only that kind of material. And I believe strongly that this is one of the most sustainable ways to do so, because you're actually using something that's already created and you're putting it into a useful pattern in a way that can be worn. And otherwise, this material, if it doesn't get resold to companies like mine, or if it doesn't get used, it's just burnt. So actually, I believe in this way we're contributing.
All right, that sounds like supporting a bigger cause, of course, contributing to environmental sustainability and actually utilizing the leftovers, which otherwise would have gone to waste. So how would you define fashion in your own words then?
Fashion, it's a broad statement. You know, I started this brand with one item. This item is still, until today, our most trendy and our most timeless item, and it's gonna be there forever. It's the silk robe, which is black and it has a white collar, and that's our kind of signature look. Why I started that? From my personal desire. I as a girl have always been in love with silk robes, pure silk robes, not polyester or anything like that. And I've always been looking for something like that. It's not something that you really need. It's not like a suit you need to buy for an interview, or it's not like shoes you need to buy for the winter, but it's something that you really want to have in your wardrobe and kind of forever. However, that item that I was always looking for has been very expensive. I mean, if you think of, for example, something like that from La Perla, which is a brand that everybody knows, it would be costing something between 400 to 500 euro, which is, of course, unaffordable for a student or for somebody that's just started working and so on. So that's why I decided to create this item, because first of all, we don't have middlemen, so we can control the price to whatever we pay for production, and then we put a small percentage on top, and we actually sell the item at a much lower price. A lot of companies have that strategy. This has been seen a lot in the past 10 years with watches and sunglasses. We've seen how these products have now taken a mid-price, which is actually affordable. And so this was kind of my idea to create this fashion movement. So when you say fashion, for me, it's something that I want to have in my wardrobe for a long time, not throw it away next season. It should be timeless, and it should be from perfect quality.
All right. And I think your choice of the material, silk, it is timeless elegance and durability, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
it is in a way as well selling luxury, right? But then luxury in a sustainable way, as I see it.
Correct.
So
That's absolutely correct.
how would you say these two worlds can be linked? Because there is a common notion that luxury brands and luxurious elegance is completely different world from fast fashion and mass production, which usually gets the most attention when it comes to sustainable fashion, right?
Yes.
How do those worlds meet? How can luxurious world of fashion be sustainable and the other way around?
Um, I can see that Gabrielle has a question. I'll get back to that. A really good question, actually. I think we're going to talk about this subject a little bit later, maybe in 5-10 minutes, exactly about your question, Gabrielle. So I'll make sure to answer. But basically, yes, that's another thing, right? Every time we think about a sustainable fashion brand, it's how to say, we don't really imagine luxurious products, right? We really imagine something more made from I don't know, reusable materials, linen, something maybe handcrafted most of the time, I would say. But people don't really place sustainable, not, I'm just talking in general, but sustainability together with luxury. And that's another point of Flair Copenhagen. I want to kind of, show the world that you don't have to be, you don't need to avoid the luxury in a brand to be sustainable. And actually, that's what we're seeing with most of these big brands. I mean, Stella McCartney is a great example from many, many years already. Gucci, I mean, all these brands, they're trying to be innovative. They're trying to cut the fashion shows into 2 seasons. They're trying to create a more some pieces that are much more timeless and not so fast fashion. And I think this is the way to go, actually.
All right, but also from your social media communication, I make an impression that actually you are not trying to sell your creations and garments as something purely sustainable, but you try to sell and give people an opportunity to actually afford the luxurious style and elegance, right? So your key message is that luxury can be everybody's routine, and it can be incorporated in everyone's daily life, right? So it's not purely silk or sustainability that you are trying to provide, but more of a feeling of how to bring elegance in everyday's life, if that's
Or
correct.
as we like to say, it's silk for all, or
Yay.
luxury for all. Yes, we actually have internally this kind of motive, yeah, of course. I mean, I'll say 3 things about Flair. It's sustainable, number one. That's, of course, our biggest, in a way, priority in the way we work. And I mentioned because we use upcycled material only, and we produce everything within Europe. So we don't use, shipping from Asia or anything like that, and we produce our own models. Number two, timeless. So when the things we produce, there's something you put in your wardrobe, and it's going to be there for the next 10, 20, 30 years even. I mean, currently I'm actually wearing one of our silk shirts, which is quite new in the design. We have... the designer and I have looked into all the trends from the 90s, from the 80s, from the 70s for silk shirts, and created this piece, which seems to be super, super, super popular right now with us. Everybody wants this silk shirt. I will stand up a little bit and show it to you. It has the regular sleeve. It has a little bit wider men's fit. We also base our models a lot on unisex. It has the big collar, which is actually like the thing that makes it different. And it has the best silk material. So this shirt, I'm sure it's not going to run out of trend next year or the year after that. It could be in your wardrobe forever. The robe, same thing. It's based on a men's robe. It's a very simple, minimal robe. The only thing that can go out of trend is the color. but that's it. The model itself, it's going to be timeless. And then the third thing is the fair price. So we don't have any middleman. We produce everything ourselves. The material we buy as well, the silk we buy, actually that's what makes it cheaper, because the silk we buy, since it's small pieces, we get it at a much lower price, which is nothing we're hiding. It's actually something we want to communicate. And that's why we can actually afford to sell the items at a much lower price, because the biggest investment is actually the material. Silk varies sometimes from 60 to 120 euro per meter. So you can imagine, for a robe, we use about 3 meters for a long robe. So that wouldn't add up if we didn't get this better price.
All right. And I remember when we first talked in November last year, I remember you were just starting off, right? You just had a few eye masks and scrunchies, I believe. And now, in addition to your signature robe, you have shirts, you have dresses, you have many more products coming up. So how was your journey through those months since we last talked? What are the design challenges you face, primarily because you are using the leftover stock materials? And how easy is it to scale up and provide with the products that people really like? Let's say the shirt is trending now. How can you make sure that you have enough of those to satisfy the...
Right. Okay, so that's really a challenge for us. Actually, as the silk is a great thing that we're working with, it's also a big challenge, because as I mentioned, we use what we find. So sometimes I have friends coming to me and saying, oh, I love this robe or this shirt, but can you please make it in purple for me? And I say, well, I would love to, but it's impossible, because it really depends on what kind of silk we find. So really, we only work with whatever is left over and whatever we find. And of course, this material sometimes is gone. So therefore, we have limited editions. Sometimes we produce 10 pieces of something. Sometimes we produce 5, and that's it. It's never coming back again. Of course, black and white is always there, but that's about it. So yes, it's a challenge. We have decided along the way to, also because of sustainable reasons, to produce limited amounts of stock, because we don't want to produce a bulk of stock that will never sell. That's also not going to be very sustainable, as you can imagine. So what we have now introduced, and you probably will mention it later, is that we work a lot with pre-order. Because of this short lead time that we have, which is 2 to 3 weeks, we are actually able to provide just the pre-order status. So we don't have to create things in different sizes, and it's only when you order. So I think that's a really big winning point for us, having the production in Europe. It gives us a lot of flexibility. And also, it is custom made at the end. It is handmade. So it's a special item. I mean, if you, for example, have a larger upper area and find the size hard to find size, you can definitely tell us that, and we'll adjust the size, especially for you. So it is kind of like custom making.
And do you see a lot of interest from people for custom made items? Or do they usually go for something which is already produced, because otherwise they just don't have the vision? How will the product look like?
So we always have whatever is on the website. We always have something that's already produced. That's the thing. Those are the things we sell that you can order. However, we always make the first items. We can just adjust the size for you and then send it to you, but you cannot change the model. That's how it is. And the reason why this is because with the designer, we create the model together. We have several samples where we make corrections, and that takes a lengthy process. So to create from scratch, let's say this shirt, it will take about 1 to 2 months time just to create the pattern. And then, we can create everything else.
All right. And in our conversation, you already mentioned quite a few times about the local production, and you mentioned that it gives you flexibility and faster production and therefore faster delivery. But why is it important? Why is it not sustainable maybe to have suppliers in Asia and ship for long distances? Just from
Two
your point of
reasons.
view.
Two reasons. I can tell you, for sure, there is a way. I mean, Asia is so advanced right now. China's production is so advanced right now that literally, I'm sure they are also working on that. But number one, shipping. Shipping is a huge problem in terms of waste, for environmental waste, number one. Number two, logistics. It takes quite a lot of time. So back and forth communication time. The items that you might want might not reach the expectations you have. So therefore you have to make corrections, and that's back and forth and really long lead times in a way. I think that the most important thing for me as well is equal pay. So the seamstresses we work with here get a really good, I would say, European equal pay compared to maybe somebody that, you know, works in a big, large factory in China, which I have no connection to and I cannot tell. So we know how we're paying and who we're paying, and we know that we're fair in that system, and we're cautious about that.
I think it's a very important statement which usually gets overlooked. So it's great to hear that you have a very close connection with the people at the production, and you basically almost know them in person, and you can account for what you are suggesting actually.
Yeah, in fact, I was just getting a call from one of the seamstresses because we're discussing a new model. So yeah, I just rejected it. But yes, we are, and it's a constant back and forth. I don't think you can create a whole collection within a month's time without having already prepared models like most of companies do. We know in China that you just put your label on that and that's yours. We don't do anything like that, and I'm against that, to be honest.
All right. Another huge trend which has been very popular for the last decade, at least, is zero waste, right? And also just to touch upon the question by Gabriela. So zero waste, is it at all attainable? Is it a solution, or is it just basically trying to make it better what is a little wrong in the first place? Just share your ideas about that. And
zero waste is absolutely unattainable at this moment in time. I have to unfortunately say that I have been to this year I went to Web Summit in Lisbon and heard a lot of these big corporations, and for example H&M, talk about sustainability. Yes, they are taking a lot of actions right now, the fast fashion companies, but there are a lot of others who don't care about this issue right now. So in terms of fast fashion and cheap items where you can buy literally sometimes even a silk shirt from H&M for like €15 instead of them burning it, I think we're very, very, very far away from this. However, having said that, and I wanted to get back to Gabriela's question, which is, if buying leftover becomes a trend, will it still be sustainable? I think it has become a trend already. I think a lot of companies are doing that. I'll name a few a little bit later, a few examples. A lot of companies are doing that. However, there's always going to be leftovers from large productions, and from small productions there are also leftovers. And what we do in terms of leftovers is, whenever there's a pattern, the pattern is set on the 1.4 meter let's say silk fabric, and when you cut the pattern around, just this is a very simple example, you always have leftovers from that fabric. And what we do with this leftovers fabric we also utilize it and we create something like this. So then this small amount of fabric is also utilized. So we would create this crunchy, or actually these are from the new collection. We would create silk masks. I'll just give you an example here. So we will create this as well, which are very small items that we also use. So we are actually aiming for zero waste within the what we provide. But there are always going to be waste from large productions. The alternative, of course, is to create sustainable fabric, sustainable silk. Where, you know, I mentioned Stella McCartney. She's currently, they're actually doing a whole project from small spiders' webs to create a new silk trend. But are we here? Yes. But
Yes.
I think that's also a process, and that's also a production which takes a lot of time and resources. So I think this is the best way to go at this moment.
All right. Yeah, I can definitely see that it is a great contribution to the system that we have right now. And then talking about future change, what do you think should be the change leaders? Should it be, as you name, Stella McCartney, luxurious brands, or should it be small sustainable brands? Should it be consumers or the government? It's an ongoing debate, and it's hard to find the right answer. So what is your opinion on that?
My opinion is everybody. I think now we realize how much waste there is of produced clothing in the world every day. It's a huge problem. I mean, huge problem. Landfills and landfills of just clothes that nobody has a use from. So I think it starts from us as a consumer, for sure. I mean, for me, it's very important to know where my clothing that I buy originates from. And then number two, governments, of course, they need to have more tight regulations, for sure. That's my opinion. And then, of course, the major brands. They are the trendsetters. They are the leaders. So of course, people will follow what they propose. So I think a lot of them are now currently already in this trend and in this movement. But there needs to be more.
I can agree to you. I think we can see huge improvements and new collections being released and new actions being taken. And I could only compliment to your opinion that everyone needs to care about that, and consumers need to demand for it, so that companies would actually be interested to produce items, and small companies have an advantage of actually making it more transparent and providing a better story about the products, and making it a bit more custom and personalized to consumers. So what would you say is the main difference between, let's say, Danish consumers, as Flair Copenhagen originates from here, versus global trends? Is there any difference in designs or colors or anything else?
Oh, yeah. Well, so starting from my background from the US, which I mentioned the first minutes of the conversation, you know, US is an interesting market because consumerism there is very, very high. So people buy things just to buy them. They don't need them, but they buy them. I think this has changed in the past. Something that I've had in my mind for a long time living there. Then I came to Europe and I started living in Denmark and saw how really modest buyers Danes are. In a sense, they prefer to spend for quality rather than quantity. They live a minimal lifestyle. They want to have a minimal interior. Everything is very well organized in that sense in their life. So that's also something that has that is within the DNA of the Flair Copenhagen brand. We use minimal colors. We don't use patterns. We use subtle colors, and especially black and white, beige, champagne. in fact, I'll show you a little bit of the new collection just in a few minutes time. Just a sneak peek preview of it. So yes, colors, very, very subtle colors, normally only one color, nothing too bright, nothing too exotic, something you can wear every day and every season, basically.
And you would say that this is what then works across the globe, or just very subtle colors work best in Scandinavian market?
I think it's Scandinavia has become a trend around the rest of the world. I mean, it's a huge trend within Asia at the moment. It's a trend also within the US. I think keeping it simple has always been the trend. It's nothing new, but it's just that the world is now realizing how convenient that is. It's very convenient to have the basics in your wardrobe, because then you know you can always just pick something quickly and be elegant. What do you need? You need a nice white shirt, a nice pair of jeans, and a couple of beautiful shoes, and you're always going to be trendy. So in that sense, the world is realizing that. So I think that it's a huge trend right now. Scandinavian, that's already a trend.
So you would suggest us just to believe in time, and that maybe that will change American consumerism, which is driving the global economy and
yes,
the
definitely. I think Americans now are much more cautious about their fashion and spending and also consumerism in general. It's not all Americans that are, of course, like that, but it is. I mean, there's a lot to learn from Europe. Let's just say that, and a lot in Europe, a lot to learn from Scandinavia.
All right. Yes, for sure. And talking from a sustainable startup perspective, what is it like to be a sustainable brand? There's also a huge buzz about different certificates that companies need to adhere to. What makes a sustainable startup stand out and confirm their credibility?
So, you know, we've always been from the very beginning very transparent about our production process, where we buy the materials, our price point. I think that's something consumers realize and really know when they look into small brands like ours. I mean, nobody really knows our brand yet. We're pretty new, but if you do have an interest, and if you see our story in our, you know, our brief story and what we are talking about, I think transparency is something really important that gains people's trust. So that's definitely one point. But yeah, I think that's transparency is number one and key.
And it's relatively easier as for a startup to be transparent, because at this very moment you still have quite a small team, I suppose.
Yes, we're currently 3.
Okay, and located in Copenhagen or in different parts of Europe?
So 2 in Copenhagen, and then 1 here. Yes.
All right. So
here, meaning Bulgaria.
Okay. Okay, I see. So talking about a startup, a small business, how was this last 6 months to you, when the world has experienced the COVID-19 pandemic? We cannot escape this question, I guess, and it's valuable to touch upon it. So how has it been? How has life been before? How has it changed your course of actions, and what are the future plans?
So for us, I cannot really say that it hit us negatively, because we are an online brand. We sell online, so online was, you know, it's always going to be online, so that wasn't a problem. Of course, our factory had to close down because and start producing masks. So in that sense, our production was pushed in time. However, we did have a lot of time to think about new models and new pieces and so on. So we used that time wisely, let's say. Um, and finally, I think it also gave us the perspective of pre-order. It's something we decided during this COVID crisis because, I mean, it's the best way to do it and it's the most sustainable way to go. So actually, I think it was not too negative for us.
All right. I can see that you used the time wisely. And you mentioned briefly that there is a new collection coming up. So maybe we could have a sneak peek into that.
Yes, I definitely want to show you something very exciting. So these products are brand new. It's all this that we've been thinking during this COVID time and what to make and how to make it. So I'm just going to show you a sneak peek of our new collection, which
Whoa.
I've just put here. As you can see, very minimal colors. But I'll just go through it quickly. So this is a shirt that is just as I said, we like our design to be multifunctional. So this shirt can be both worn outside and also as a pajama set indoor with these shorts.
Okay.
Yes. So it's actually very, very flowy and very breathable for the summer. It has this long sleeve. So I think it's very, very pleasant to wear. As I mentioned, the new silk shirt that everybody is in love with. Our buttons are also made from shell, so it looks very, very natural. You can also see it on me, just with plain white pants and a belt. So this could be worn on the beach, tied. It could be, with in a business meeting. So it's also multifunctional, multi-purpose. Another thing is this beautiful long robe, which is only one color this time. And this was because all of our Danish clients said we want a one color robe, not too colorful. So that's what we created. Very flowy, very Danish. You could see very clean lines. We even cut here the collar, so it just falls naturally. And that goes together with these cute little, homey shorts.
Yeah.
Something which I'm super excited about is this silk pillowcase.
Wow.
So when I said that sometimes there's like very little material left from these beautiful fabrics, sometimes it's really pieces of 1 to 2 meters. Those pieces, unfortunately, cannot be utilized for much besides, even for a shirt. A shirt takes normally 2 meters of material. So what we utilize them for is actually these beautiful silk pillowcases, which now we all know it's a trend and it's super, super healthy for your skin and for your hair and for everything. And it's just hypoallergenic and it's just beautiful to sleep on. So this is something we just launched actually. It should be on the website already as of today. Wow. So take a look. We have them in black and blue. And then the most interesting thing are these beautiful, and this is really a sneak peek, but these beautiful jumpsuits. This is going to be a very cool collaboration with Sazeline, actually, from Copenhagen, a well-known singer, a leader in sustainability life at the moment. Who is quite well known, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I hope our audience are too. We have created this beautiful project together, and this is really just a sneak peek. It's not launched yet on the website. We'll launch it together. But basically, the design is primarily her idea. So I'm very excited about this collaboration, and I'm very excited about collaborating with her in particular because she's super, super focused on sustainability and small brands and reused fabric and so on. So I think it's going to be really, really cool for all our audience so far and whoever cares about sustainability.
I can definitely agree. And thanks a lot for showing the new collection. The pieces look amazing, and I'm very excited to see them in real life soon. Especially the jumpsuit. I think it's a huge trend at the moment, and of course, all the other garments. I already fell
Yeah.
in love with them through the screen, so I'm very excited to see them in real life as well. And
So am I. I'm very excited. Yes.
and you recently launched another initiative that you are in search for ambassadors.
Yes. Yes. We are currently already talking to a few. Actually, we had quite a few applicants. The reason being is that as a small brand, we want to definitely kind of spread the word out. I mean, organically is the best way for us. We have had some collaboration with really big influencers, but we have realized, and that's actually something for everybody for small companies probably to know, is that a one-time big influencer doesn't do you a great amount of traction in a way. And that's why we decided to do a more long-term relationship. So we decided to actually look for ambassadors who are going to be with us for a while, who are going to get to know the brand DNA, who are going to actually start loving the brand. So to promote something, you need to actually know it and love it and know about it. So we decided to go about that way. And we have been contacted by influencers who have followers and some who are, just fans of the sustainability movement. And that's what we're going to do. And you're going to very soon hear from them in their communities as well.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
It's a huge support for small business, and especially when you are doing something truthful for the environment. That the message that you spread out would also be spread in a very sustainable way, which
organic, absolutely. Everything is organic from top to bottom.
That's amazing. Our talk is coming to an end, but I still have a few things I would like to ask, and this is 5 statements that I have prepared, and I will read them one by one, and you just need to finish with your own ideas.
Okay.
All right, so let's get started. So the first is, to me, sustainability is
wearing something you know the origin from.
All right. One thing I would like to see more of in the world.
More fashion conscious brands.
It's a really good answer. A third one, for a complete beginner in the sustainability area, I would suggest to start off with.
I think we should educate ourselves on how much impact fabric waste has on the world. So definitely start reading about that, and don't buy just anything because it's cheap. Buy it because you need it.
That's a really good advice. Every sustainable business is or should or
should be absolutely transparent from the beginning to the end.
All right. And the last one, in 2 to 3 years, I see Flair Copenhagen.
I see Flair Copenhagen across countries, different countries, as a trendsetter in the sustainable fashion world.
Super good. And I wish that will come true and maybe even exceed your expectations.
I hope so. Thank you.
Is there anything else you would like to add? Maybe there's something we didn't cover through the conversation.
I think we pretty much covered everything, including the new collection, sneak peek, exciting news about Flair collaborations. So just follow us, and we hope we don't disappoint.
Oh, I'm sure you will exceed the expectations. So what would be your three key takeaways from our conversation?
Hmm. I think we should be conscious about what we're buying. I think we should give chance to smaller brands, even though big brands have a lot of good offers at the moment. Um, and small businesses in general, not only fashion brands, but small businesses in general. And I think we should be trying to be more sustainable in our lives.
That's really good advice. I really appreciate you joining for this first live Q&A session. It's been a great
Thank you.
pleasure to have you here and for you to share your journey and ideas about sustainability, and also give us a sneak peek to a new collection, collaboration. And I wish you all the very best in your silk luxury business endeavors, and hope to see you soon and my Conscious Living platform again.
Yes, thank you very much. And thanks for supporting us all the way, because you're always supporting our brand on Instagram. You're always following us. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for this really nice interview. And I hope next time we have an even better one soon.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
And
for everybody for listening.
yes, thank you
Bye-bye.
everyone who listened.